Well, I spent all Saturday amidst a pine and sap. I put the tinsel on the branches, filling every gap. I hung the popcorn strings we made in 1992. The tree was looking messy, but the spirit was so true. I had the macaroni star my daughter made in school. It was crooked and decaying, but that was the family rule. We had the blinking colored lights, a flashing crazy time. To me, that lopsided tree was simply just sublime. The doorbell rang at 7, the in-laws had arrived. I poured a glass of eggnog just so I could survive. My mother-in-law walked in, dragging fur and snow. She looked across the living room and delivered the first blow. She didn't say hello or Merry Christmas to her son. She pointed at my masterpiece and said, "What have you done?" She said, "That tree is chaotic, it lacks a central theme. It looks like a nightmare from a very tacky dream. It's the Ornament War, and the battle lines are drawn between the plastic Santa and the porcelain fawn." She wants a Vogue magazine, white and silver look. I want the ugly memories that hang upon the hook. Oh, Christmas isn't perfect, it's supposed to be a mess, but try telling that to mother in her sequin dress. This tree is full of love. I pointed to the angel with the missing wing above. She sniffed a little sniff and she tightened up her lips. She looked like a commander with her hands upon her hips. We had a lovely dinner, or at least we tried to eat, but I saw her eyes just darting to the corner from her seat. She was plotting something evil, she was making up a plan to overhaul the holiday of the simple family man. We all went up to bed to wait for Santa's sleigh. I drifted off to sleep dreaming of Christmas Day, but around 3 a.m. I heard a rustle on the floor. I grabbed my baseball bat and I crept down to the door. I thought it was a burglar, or maybe Saint Nick, but what I saw before me made my stomach turn real sick. There stood Martha on a ladder in the middle of the night with a box of silver baubles that were shining oh so bright. She had stripped my tree completely, it was naked as a bone. My macaroni star was in the garbage all alone. She was hanging crystal teardrops perfectly aligned, leaving all my happy messy memories behind. I shouted, "Martha, stop, put down that crystal ball." She nearly lost her balance, she nearly took a fall. She said, "I'm doing you a favor, for the neighbor's sake. That other tree you decorated was a big mistake." I looked at all my childhood hanging in the trash. I felt a surge of anger, a holiday hot flash. I grabbed the popcorn string and I threw it like a rope. I said, "You're strangling my Christmas and my only hope." Why does Christmas have to be a showroom display? Why can't we let the ugly ornaments stay? It's not about the elegance or matching of the red, it's about the goofy memories inside your head. We spent the next 3 hours in a standoff by the pine, putting back the ugly elves one by one in line. She grumbled and she complained with every single hook, giving me the famous disappointed mother look. When the sun came up on Christmas, the tree was half and half, half designer elegance and half a total gap. The kids came running down and they didn't even care. They just wanted presents and the magic in the air. Tree. I stood my ground with pride, but the war wasn't over, there was nowhere left to hide. I thought the tree was safe, but then I heard a buzz. My father-in-law was in the kitchen doing what he does.
Continue listening. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe.
The house was smelling good, the bird was golden brown, the biggest 20-pounder in the whole entire town. I sharpened up my carving knife, the one my daddy gave. I was ready to be the hero, steady and so brave. My father-in-law, Big Jim, came strolling through the door. He worked in construction since 1954. He saw my little knife and he let out a laugh. He said, "You never cut that bird with that little piece of chaff." "Step aside," said Jim with a twinkle in his eye. "I brought a little gadget that I really want to try." He went out to his truck, parked out on the street, and came back with a case that was laying at his feet. He opened up the latches, I saw the metal shine. It wasn't a kitchen gadget, it wasn't strictly fine. It was an electric carving knife with horsepower to spare. It looked like something used to cut a grizzly bear. It's the Texas Chainsaw Turkey, revving in the hall. Grease and flying stuffing are plastered on the wall. He thinks he's fixing engines, but he's ruined the meat. Now we're picking turkey splinters off of the concrete. Oh, hide the fine china and protect your plate before the power tools seal our dinner's fate. said, "Daddy, please, just let him use the blade." But Jim plugged in the cord, a connection that he made. "Stand back," he shouted out, putting goggles on his face. "I'm gonna carve this bird at a record-breaking pace." He pulled the trigger back and the motor started to create a roar. It sounded like a Harley revving on the kitchen floor. The cat jumped on the fridge, the dog began to howl. Jim leaned into the turkey with a determined scowl. The first cut hit the bone and the table started to shake. The gravy boat was vibrating like a California quake. White meat flew to the left, dark meat flew to the right. It was a poultry explosion, a terrifying sight. "It's got too much torque," Jim yelled over the sound. The turkey spun in circles going round and round. He couldn't find the switch to turn the power down. He was chasing that poor turkey all across the town. It flew off of the platter, it slid across the floor. It gathered dust and hair like never before. But Jim was right behind it, the blade was spinning fast. I knew that our Christmas dinner wasn't going to last. It hit the dining wall with a heavy greasy thud. Jim finally pulled the plug, ending the flood. We looked at the pile of meat, shredded into bits. My wife looked at her father and she nearly lost her wits. We wanted nice slices laid out on the tray. We wanted a picture-perfect holiday. Now we have turkey confetti, piles of dust, and a father-in-law who betrayed our trust. Jim wiped his forehead, well, the job is done. I guess it's a little bit rustic, but it's ready to address. We scooped up the pieces with a spoon and a spade. The worst Christmas dinner that we had ever made. We ate the shredded turkey in a silence distinct. Big Jim was the only one who didn't seem to think that using power tools on poultry was a bad idea. He asked for seconds with a joyful Christmas cheer. I learned a lesson then about the male ego and pride. Next year we're buying ham with nowhere left to hide. Or maybe we'll go vegan just to keep the peace and avoid the flying turkey and the wall-to-wall grease. Well, the food was a disaster, but the night was young. We still had the stockings that were carefully hung. I thought the worst was over, I thought we were free, until we gathered round to open gifts beneath the tree. Well, the food was a disaster, but the night was young. We still had the stockings that were carefully hung. I thought the worst was over, I thought we were free, until we gathered round to open gifts beneath the tree.
3 more songs to go.
The wrapping paper was crinkled, a vintage shade of gold. It looked like it was from a roll that was 20 years old. Aunt Linda handed me the box with a devilish little grin. She said, "I found the perfect gift for the shape that you are in." It was heavy and rectangular, it rattled when I shook. My wife gave me a nudge and a worried kind of look. We know Aunt Linda's history, she's thrifty as can be, but I pasted on a smile for the whole family to see. Tape, which was yellowed with the age. I felt like a detective in a mystery on the stage. I opened up the cardboard flaps, dust flew in the air. I saw a kitchen gadget sitting lonely, and there was a Juice-O-Matic 5000 painted avocado green, the ugliest appliance that a man has ever seen. It didn't have a plastic wrap, the cord was twisted tight. I knew something about this present wasn't fully right. It's the Regift Mystery coming back around to me, the circle of junk beneath the Christmas tree. Gave it to her in '98, now it's back on my plate. Passed around the family like a twist of cruel fate. Oh, you can't fool a Husker with a gift of second hand. It's the tackiest tradition in all the festive land. Juicer out and set it on the rug. I looked for the instruction manual and the electric plug. There was a sticky spot right on the side, a little patch of goo. It looked like strawberry jam or maybe some glue. It's vintage, Linda shouted, clapping hands with glee. They don't make them like that, it's sturdy, don't you see? I turned it over in my hands, inspecting underneath, while I grit my smiling teeth and held my bated breath. And there it was, the evidence, the smoking gun, a crime, a piece of masking tape that had withstood the test of time. It had a name written on it in a marker distinct blue. It said to Linda from Bob, and Bob is me. It's true, I looked at my own handwriting from 15 years ago. I felt the embarrassment begin to grow and grow. I gave this to her at a wedding, brand new in the box. Now she's giving it to me, sly like a fox. My wife began to giggle, she couldn't hold it back. Aunt Linda looked confused, is there something that it lacks? Oh no, I said it's perfect, I've always wanted one, even though I bought it back when
when I was young.
I decided to play along to see how far it went. I wonder if it works, I said, is the motor spin? I plugged it in the wall socket, sparks began to fly. A cloud of black smoke rose up to the sky. The Juice-O-Matic groaned a sound of dying metal pain. It sounded like a dying cow standing in the rain. Aunt Linda shouted, oh dear, it must have shook in the car. I said, it's okay, Linda, it's the best gift by far. We passed the trash around the room, pretending that it's gold stories of generosity that are fake and bold. Next year I'll wrap it up again, I'll find a different victim. Maybe Uncle Jerry, I'll surely try to trick him. We unplugged the fire hazard and put it in the hall. I thanked her for the thoughtful thought, the greatest of them all. She seemed relieved to dump the junk, her conscience was clear. She grabbed another eggnog and gave a hearty cheer. I needed fresh air badly to clear the smoke and lies. I looked toward the front door with longing in my eyes. But before I could escape the room to have a silent night, Aunt Linda jumped up from her chair with a face so bright. She pulled out a stack of paper she was hiding in her purse. Since the juicer's broken, things couldn't get much worse. So button up your coats, folks, put your boots on tight. We're going caroling to the neighbors in the freezing night.
The next one is even better.
I didn't want to go outside, it was 10 degrees below. The wind was howling wildly, whipping up the snow. But Linda had the songbooks and a militant command. She marched us out the doorway to the winter wonderland. My father-in-law was grumbling, I'm gonna miss the game. My wife was hiding in a scarf, dying of the shame. The kids were crying softly, their noses running red. We looked like a choir of the walking living dead. First stop is the Johnsons, Aunt Linda loudly cried. She didn't seem to notice that our souls had died inside. We shuffled down the icy walk, slipping on the sleet, the saddest Christmas procession on the entire street. We gathered on the porch light, huddled in a pack. Linda blew a pitch pipe, there was no turning back. She started singing Silent Night at the top of her lung, but she was screaming like a cat that had just been stung. We're caroling with the deaf, cause you'd have to be to stay. The neighbors shut the curtains and they turned the lights away. We're off key, we're freezing, we don't know the verse. Every house we visit seems to get a little worse. Rocking around the neighborhood, disturbing all the peace, waiting for the moment that the torture finally ceases. The Johnsons didn't open, though I saw them in the blind, peeking through the shutters, leaving us behind. Linda rang the bell again, they must be in the back. She started singing Jingle Bells, giving it a crack. My voice was cracking deeply, I sounded like a frog. The neighbor's German shepherd came out of the fog. He started barking with us, keeping better time than Uncle Joe, who was drunk on sherry wine. We moved on to the Millers, house number 42, Linda said, let's try a song that is something new. How about the 12 days, it's long and full of cheer. I felt a frozen teardrop falling in my beer. 5 golden rings, street shattering the glass. The Millers turned the porch light off, hoping we would pass. But Linda kept on singing about the turtle dove, oblivious to everything, fueled by Christmas love. Were turning purple, I couldn't feel my face. I dreamt of my fireplace, my happy warm place. But we had 3 more houses on the Linda list, existing in a snowy vocal horror mist. We got to old man Jenkins, who's deaf as a stone. We thought that we were safe here in the quiet zone. But even he came out and yelled, keep it down out there, you sound like dying cattle floating in the air. Linda took it as a compliment, he heard us, that is great. Let's sing it even louder, let's vibrate the gate. She launched into joy to the world with a vibrato shake. It was more than any human neighborhood could take. The cops rolled by slowly, cruising down the lane. They looked at us with pity, They saw vocal pain. They didn't even stop us. They just shook their head, probably thinking we should be asleep in our bed. Finally the songbook closed, the tour was at an end. We ran back to our house around the river bend. We stumbled through the front door, seeking heat and light, escaping from the terror of the caroling night. We threw our coats in corners, we rubbed our frozen hands. That was lovely, Linda said, the best across the lands. I looked at the calendar hanging on the wall and realized with a sudden shock, the biggest one of all. I thought they were leaving in the morning on the train. I thought the visit ending all my pain. But Linda saw me looking and she gave a little sway. Oh, didn't we tell you we're staying 12 more days?
Now listen to 12 Days of Overstaying.
My jaw hit the floor when she dropped the news. I felt the sudden onset of the post-Christmas blues. 12 more days of chaos trapped inside the shack, with no return policy to send the family back. On day one, they unpacked the bags again, taking up the closet space of me and all my kin. On day two, the leftovers were completely gone. They ate the ham and turkey before the crack of dawn. My fridge was looking empty, just a jar of pickle juice. I felt my grip on sanity beginning to get loose. They asked me what's for dinner with a hungry kind of stare. I said, we're eating crackers and breathing in the air. On day three, the bathroom became a combat zone. I couldn't get 5 minutes to sit up on the throne. Uncle Jim was in there reading papers from the past, while I was in the hallway fading mighty fast. The water bill is rising, the toilet's running dry. I'm looking at the calendar and starting to cry. On day four, the battle for the TV remote began. My father-in-law is a Western movie man. He deleted all my recordings of the football game to watch a black and white repeat of a cowboy with no name. I sat there in the corner, twitching in my eye, watching horses run across the desert sky. It's the 12 days of overstaying, dragging on and on. I'm counting down the minutes till everyone is gone. Ben Franklin said the guests are like a piece of fish. After 3 days they stink, that is my only wish. Oh, pack your bags, hit the road, get out of my sight. I need to have a silent and a holy night. On day five empty bottles, the liquor cabinet's empty. They drank the whiskey dry, they even drank the cooking sherry. I don't know why. Aunt Linda doing karaoke on the kitchen chair, singing I Will Survive while pulling out her hair. On day six, the political debates took the stage. My blood pressure hit the red and flew into a rage. They argued about the taxes, the weather, and the schools, calling one another a bunch of stubborn fools. I hid inside the garage to get away from the noise, playing with the broken pieces of the children's toy. On day seven, they decided to reorganize my shed. We're helping you, they shouted, messing with my head. They moved my tools around so I can't find a wrench. I'm sitting on a bucket on a cold and wooden bench. They threw away some junk that was my favorite gear. I'm losing all the things that I hold dear. On day eight, the dog decided he had had enough. He packed his little chew toy and he left in a huff. He's living with the neighbors down at number 43. He looked me in the eye and said, it's them or me. I tried to follow him, but they pulled me back inside to look at family photos from a slideshow ride. On day nine, the flu began to circulate the room. The house became a coughing, sneezing temple of the doom. We were passing around the tissues and the vitamin C, trapped in quarantine with the whole family tree. Coughing on the curtains, sneezing on the cat. I've never seen a holiday turn quite as bad as that. On day 10, the mother-in-law began to criticize the circles that were growing underneath my tired eyes. You look a little peaked, she said, while eating toast. Maybe you should try to be a better kind of host. I bit my tongue so hard, I think I tasted blood. My spirit was sinking down into the mud. On day 11, I finally snapped the wire. I stood up on the table and I breathed the ring of fire. I said, the inn is closed, the hotel's shutting down. It's time for you to pack it up and leave this little town. They looked at me in shock, they looked at me with fear. They realized the end was drawing very near. I love you guys, I really do, your family after all. But this house is way too tiny and the walls are way too small. I need my couch, I need my bed, I need my peace of mind. So get into your Buick and leave the past behind. On day 12, the suitcases were finally by the door. I've never seen a sight that I have loved so much more. We hugged and kissed goodbye, I waved them down the street. I watched the taillights fade, victory was sweet. I walked back in the house, silence all around. And that is the greatest Christmas gift that I have ever found. Hello? Oh, hi, Mom. You forgot your glasses? You're turning around?